What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. All right, y'all. So before we get started, on this Memorial Day 2024, I just want to send a major salute to all of the U.S. military personnel who served in our armed forces. Just want to say my hats off to you, even though I don't wear hats. But, to all of those who served our country in the name of freedom, again, I salute you. Your service will never be forgotten. And on behalf of myself and everyone else who supports the United States military, I just want to say thank you. All right. So with that being said, y'all, man, I could not wait to get into this one. I've been waiting to do this one all day. I went to work for 8 hours today, even though I could have took the day off. Why not go in and get the extra money, so to speak. But in this case, I've been waiting to do this one all day. Already thought about my talking points. Already got the videos that I'm going to share lined up. So, and as you can tell by the title, this is going to be an interesting one. And I just want everybody to hear me out because, man, I'm going to go in on this one. Not because I'm upset or anything, but there's going to be a little bit of passion here along with factual information and everything else that I want to share. So let's go ahead and get into this one, y'all. So, if you've been following my channel since it's been up, you know that I've talked often about my political aspirations. Right now, even though I'm on like a quote unquote hiatus at the moment, I do plan to return to school to get my master's degree in political science and government. So I'm still pretty much in the academic part of my journey. However, after I finish the academic part of my journey, I do plan to get my political start in the Virginia House of Delegates, but the ultimate goal is to become elected to the United States House of Representatives. So if you know my story thus far, you know that that's what it is. And continuing on, as you all know, I am a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I have no problem saying that. It is what it is, for the lack of a better way to explain it. That's the party, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the issues of the day and the issues that I support and believe in, et cetera, et cetera. That's the part that I lined up with. And quite frankly, for the foreseeable future, that's not going to change. Me converting to the Republican side, hell no, nowhere in a million years. And becoming an independent, with all due respect to those who subscribe to being independent, that's just not for me. So when it comes to the things that I believe in, I'm a Democrat. And also, I just want to throw this in there as well. I'm liberal in my way of political thinking, with the application of logic and common sense from a Black man's perspective. So, refer to that in the future if you want to, so I just wanted to throw that in there. So I have no problem sharing that. Now, before I continue on, I've said in previous videos as well that when it comes to issues of the day and when it comes to the American people, the public, our constituencies, yes, the Democrats should always do more. I will be one of the first to say that. And I have no issues with anybody saying that. You will hear that even from Democrats themselves that the party needs to do more, but I'm not going to forego my registry, if you will, just to go to another party. And I'm not going to allow myself to get into this emotional way of voting. Okay, so the Democrats made me mad. I'm going to switch to the Republicans, or at worst, not vote. And then if the Republicans don't do anything, then I'm going to go back to the Democrats. No, I'm not doing that emotional way of voting, and neither should you. I definitely don't want emotional voting to become a thing. And quite frankly, I think we've seen a lot of that within recent years, but that's a whole nother story. And I talked about it before. And also, the Republicans should do more as well. Now, I know the common sentiment is that the Democratic Party is the party for Black America. But at the same time, even I know that not every Black person is a Democrat. I know that, some Black people support the Republican Party, and I'm going to talk about that in this video. And some people are independents. I understand that and I respect that. But on the whole, everyone should be doing more. It shouldn't just be up to the Democrats. It shouldn't just be up to the Republicans. Everyone should be doing more, So that's that part. Now, continuing on, if you're a liberal listening to this, okay. If you're a conservative listening to this, okay. So with that being said, to my Democrats, I'm sure we will see eye to eye when I get to this particular subject. Now, to the GOP or the Republicans, if you're listening to this, you can come along for the ride. And if you're independent listening to this, now my views may come off as biased, but I'm only speaking truth to power. At least that's what I'm trying to do. So, you know, I just wanted to make those things clear. And speaking of making things clear, that brings me to my next point. Now, as I do this particular video, I'm reflecting on just the last several weeks slash months when I'm listening to certain videos on YouTube. And there are a couple of content creators, one in particular. Now, I'm not going to call this brother's name, because number one, this is team discipline. So over here, YouTube beef, social media beef, or anything like that. No, we're not doing that over here. I don't support that at all. So I'm not going to call this brother out. He does exceptional work, and I listen to his content, often, especially when he drops something new. But the only thing that makes me cringe a little is when he come with that Democratic plantation and all this talk about Democratic shields and all this other stuff. And I just really have to push back on that because it's not true. And it just makes me shake my head in frustration that some people believe that nonsense. Is no such thing as a Democratic plantation. And I also want to throw in there that it's amazing to me that, according to some people, supporting the Democratic Party in mass numbers is the equivalent to being on a plantation. However, supporting the Republican Party in any form is being down with the base. Okay, I see. And watch them lose their damn minds if you refer to them as a cult. But I digress. Just like it's no such thing as a Democratic plantation, it ain't no deep state either, y'all. Let me repeat that. There is no deep state. Okay? All right. And it just boggles the mind, at least mine and several other people, that you have members of the Republican Party as we speak. They're working insane amounts of political overtime to attract Black voters, going completely overboard and doing way too much to show the world that the GOP understands and supports the plight of our community. And the fact that they do it to this degree is beyond disingenuous and ridiculous. I mean, you want to be smug and righteous, believing the nonsense coming from the likes of Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and the rest of the crew. And them guys, they frown upon being in the same room with you, let alone breaking any bread with you. I mean, with all that being said, you can't be serious. Just because they sport, just because they say such nonsense with such a quote unquote conservative conviction doesn't make it right. And you look silly all hell trying to move every mountain possible to defend this nonsense. And I'm gonna keep calling it nonsense because that's exactly what it is, And I'm not gonna defend nonsense on this platform, and neither should you. When it comes to nonsense, you call it out point blank in the story, So with all that being said, John, when I speak of the word nonsense, that's what's going to bring us to our first video, the first of two. Fair usage for this, fair usage. I mean, man. Now, as most of you know, I've had my issues with Joy Reid, within recent months. However, I had to come back with this one, in terms of not just a MSNBC type thing, but, using something that she talked about, because this is going to say a lot right here. So without further delay, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this shit right here. Excuse my French.
But we begin tonight with Donald Trump's preoccupation with crowd size, which continued in an unhinged Bronx rally where he boasted huge crowds of 25,000 plus. So take a look. Is that what you see here? 25,000 people? Well, based on the police department, as well as math, the laws of physics, and the existence of eyeballs, you can see that Trump, once again, is lying. It's the lie that launched 1,000 memes, with folks comparing this paltry scene with what actually constitutes a crowd of 25,000.
And okay, why is he doing a rally in the Bronx? I mean, I know this is a few days old, and like I said, I won't go let this one go. I was going to talk about this one, but why is he doing a rally in the Bronx? That just strikes me as random as hell. I don't care how much is, I don't care how long it's been planned, if it's been planned at all. It's like, it's incredibly random. But let's keep it going, y'all.
Like the crowd Andrea Bocelli drew at the Barclays Center, or this rally, but for Barack Obama in Iowa. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Because if anything triggers Donald Trump, it's the Obama factor. Remember back in 2017 on that awful day for American history when Trump was inaugurated president? He predicted huge crowds for his ceremony, bigger than Obama's. But then these photos famously showed a view of the crowd on the National Mall at the inaugurations of Obama on the left and Trump on the right. Both images were shot shortly before noon from the top of the Washington Monument. The lies continue to this day. Just a couple of weeks ago, a so-called raucous beachfront rally in New Jersey drew between 80 and 100,000 people, according to Wildwood officials. But then those same Republican officials later said that the number reflected not really how many people were at the rally per se, but rather it was the number of people, quote, in our town.
Okay, what? Why lie about numbers when you should know that this stuff can easily be verified? I mean, do these people think at all? I mean, why would you lie about numbers and crowd size and all that? I mean, that stuff can be easily verified and looked up. I mean, do they not? I know I'm repeating myself, but this is just mind-boggling. Why lie about numbers like this? It can easily be fact-checked, researched, and verified. Do they not think about this shit? Sheesh.
It makes sense, or rather don't. We know the absurdity is the point. This is a thing with Donald Trump, an overinflated sense of self and an orchestrated lie to make him seem bigger, better, more popular, admired, and well-received than he actually is. You know who else does that? Dictators, knowing people will just believe any narrative that they are fed. And we know this about Donald Trump.
Right.
But this is also about the media taking the bait, with reports on Trump's crowd size snatching all the headlines. This is a call for some good old-fashioned shoe leather reporting. Was anyone at this rally asked if they're actually from the Bronx? Because remember, the New York City borough of the Bronx boasts a majority of Black, Latino, and blue voters. Yet that crowd, I'm just saying, it looked awfully white. The strategy is to convince America that Black and brown folks are the Americans who are really, really into Trump. But as Trump was lying on stage, this is what actual New Yorkers were saying on the ground.
Nobody who is authentically from the Bronx is willing to co-sign hatred and xenophobia and misogyny and all of the things that this guy represents.
Word to the mother.
That he is not welcome in the Bronx.
Do you think there's any people you know in the Bronx or friends that would consider voting for him?
No, I don't know anyone that consider voting for him.
Okay, I gotta say word to the mother again, because I hear in the background, it's clear as day, they got the Lord Tariq and Peter Gunn's classic Uptown Baby Deja Vu. They got that playing. Okay, man, props on that one. You know, I mean, I still listen to that song to this day. And on another subject, it takes me back to when I was in the 8th grade. But, you know, now eventually I'm going to talk about that album on this channel. Y'all just give me some time, but I'm going to get to it. But yeah, major props for having that playing in the background.
Doesn't quite fit Trump's narrative, does it? And think about it. If Trump has so many supporters in New York, why aren't they showing up in droves to support him at his trial, where the courthouse is literally just a subway ride away? This is Tuesday, one supporter. Usually there are none. Trust me, I've been there. And to top off this tomfoolery, Trump floated Florida Congressman Byron Donalds as a potential vice presidential pick. Donalds, who backed Trump's lie that Biden authorized the feds to take him out, that guy, the one Black guy that Republicans love to roll out as fake proof that Black people, the Blacks, are just MAGA. They're MAGA.
And not only do they do that with this guy, they do it with Tim Scott as well. Now, let's keep it clear. Byron Donalds is not going to be a vice presidential pick. Not by Trump, not by anyone else. Maybe by Tim Scott if he decides to run in the future again. But Donald Trump is not going to pick this guy. And even if he does, that's not going to sway Black people to his side, because we know what these two guys are on. So this is not going to help anything. It's not. Sheesh. And you want to talk about, you know, Democratic pandering and plantation and shilling and all this bullshit. What they're doing is directly pandering, and it's ridiculous what they're doing. But apparently the thinking is that when you support the Democrats, you're shilling and you're doing all of that. But when it comes to the Republicans trying to get our vote, they down for the cause, right? Nonsense.
It's a joke. And just as credible as when they pretended they were going to make that guy Speaker of the House, because they weren't going to do that either. Joining me now is Michael Steele, former RNC chair and co-host of The Weekend on MSNBC. Michael Tomasky, editor of The New Republic, and Clay Kane, host of The Clay Kane Show on Sirius XM and author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Grift. We were on the list the same time.
We were.
Let's talk about this because look, this particularly bothered me because my godmother, my Jamaican godmother, lived in the Bronx. That is where I lived after college. You know, I'm an orphan, so after that, I went and lived with my godmother. So I lived in the South Bronx. I know what the South Bronx is like. I know what the South Bronx people are like. That ain't it, what they were trying to show. They're trying to use this location and this little crowd, which they inflated, to try to make it look like it's black and brown people that are Donald Trump's base. Does it irritate you as much as it does me?
I've been in the New York City area for almost 25 years and talk about pandering and lies. To quote Aretha Franklin, lies, lies, and more lies. I mean, he's in the South Bronx, but the BX is not there with him. There was local news reports talking about that people just were traveling there from Pennsylvania, Tennessee, so on. And it's silly. And then I think about to show us how he cares about black and brown voters, he brought out 2 rappers who have been accused of murder. That's
what... Hold on. Did y'all hear that? I know y'all see the title of the video on the MSNBC video, but did y'all hear that? He brought out 2 rappers accused of murder, and I think they're going to show the clips too. And actually, this is my first time looking at the video as, you know, y'all listening to it. You know, once I saw the title and once I saw the thumbnail, I was like, yeah, I'm talking about this on my channel today. But did y'all hear that? 2 rappers accused of murder, but you see, here's the thing. This guy also wants to still claim that he's done more for black people than any president in history. And that includes, I think he said Abraham Lincoln or something like that. And some people believe that nonsense. But you see, this is another thing. You want to bring up 2 rappers accused of murder. See, that's how they see us, y'all. You know, as if this is the best representation of black people. That's who you're going to bring on stage? Really? And you think any self-respecting black people are going to see this and be like, oh, I'm down for Trump now. Give me a break. No, it's not going to work like that. It damn sure wouldn't work on me. And let me say this too before I continue on. As you all know, if you've been following my channel, right? Nas is my favorite rapper of all time, my favorite MC of all time. Number 1. That's never going to change. However, if he actually came out one day and said that he's voting for Donald Trump in the 2024 election, that's not going to make me go to Donald Trump. You know, just because Nas would do that doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. Now, we don't know where Nas' political leanings lie, you know, and quite frankly, do I want to know? No, because when it comes to Nas, it's all about the music. So I'm not even tripping on that. But still, you know, this is what you think. This is what you think of us. 2 rappers, and you think that's supposed to sway blacks to the Republicans as if that's a way of saying, okay, all right, like I said, we down for the cause. You know, what y'all gonna do? Get out of here with this nonsense.
That's what he thinks of us. And this year marks 35 years since he accused 5 black men of being rapists in Central Park and called for their execution. This marks 35 years since he pulled out that ad in the New York Times.
And Yusuf Salam, who is now a city councilman, represents a district not far from there. So
y'all remember that? The Central Park 5 and him putting that article in the New York Times and all of that? Y'all remember that? But yet instead, this guy likes black people. Why? Tell me why.
He thought that those kids were garbage. He wanted them dead. That is the guy who even anybody black, like Byron Donalds, who, by the way, is from Brooklyn. He's from East Flatbush, Brooklyn, like me.
Oh, I did not know that, y'all. I did not know that. Okay, he represents Florida. I thought he was born and raised in Florida. Wow, this guy's from New York. Now that is interesting. That is very interesting. I did not know that, y'all.
His family is Caribbean American like mine. He knows better than this. I grew up around the time of the Central Park 5. I know what Donald Trump is. That's why I never even watched The Apprentice. Anybody black that knows anything about Donald Trump thinks the way I do about him. That's why he got, 10% in New York or 20% when he ran here. New Yorkers don't like him.
Absolutely. And we've been telling, when he was running for office, we were saying, trust New Yorkers, tell New Yorkers.
Come on, we try to tell you.
And Byron Donalds, why isn't this brother in D.C. D.C. getting work done? Why isn't he in Florida in his actual district?
Go back to your district, and you're not going to be vice president, Byron. Same way he pretended they were going to make me speaker. He was on our show trying to convince us of that. They rubbed his head. Don't ever let people rub you in your head, Byron. That's my advice to you. Chef G, Michael Steele, because I know you're a hip hop fan, as I am. Chef G and Sleepy Hallow. I'd never heard of them. The only way I know of them, Michael, is that now I am aware that they were both accused of murder in a 140 count indictment.
Look at this. Okay, now the Source magazine. Okay, now y'all know I've talked about the Source magazine on my channel. I still have some of the classic issues from back in the 90s, and I'm still trying to get my hands on ones that I never owned and those that I had back in the day. But check this out. Look at this. 140 count indictment. And look at how he's looking at them too. Like look at these cats. Now you see this right here. Look at them. Now again, they're my brothers and I love them. Okay. What's sad is I love you because you're my brother. But just look at these guys. That's how they see us. This is the representation of Black America right here. These are the two people who's supposed to, at least assist in getting Black people to vote for this guy. Really? Just look at them. They look a mess, a complete mess. And this is supposed to say, all right, we down with Trump now. Like, get out of my face with this nonsense, because that's exactly what it is. Just look at this. That's how they see us. And at least if you're going to get a rapper or whatever, can't you get someone with credibility? Do you have to get somebody who's been in some type of legal trouble? Do you have to do that? But you can't tell them none, because that's how they see us. And I keep saying it because it's true. It's complete nonsense. Sheesh.
So Donald Trump's pitch to us is gold sneakers and two rappers who were accused of murder. That is what he thinks of Black people. As somebody, Michael Steele, who tried to expand the ranks of Black support in the Republican Party, what do you think of that?
Well, it's an embarrassing affront to all the work and effort that African Americans are trying to create within their community and trying to get people to pay attention to the young African American boys and girls who are working their way through schools, who just graduated from HBCUs at this year and from major institutions to set a course for themselves of the American dream. So as a presidential candidate, you want to remind us that we're nothing more than rappers with 140 felony counts against them, including murder.
Right.
Oh, by the way, we're going to save you on your cigarettes because we know you like smoking those cigarettes and wearing those sneakers. It's all been a lie. It's all been portrayed in a way, and this is the part that I find the most offensive. When members of our own community promote this crap,
come on,
and don't speak honestly to it, Byron, that is a problem. So,
correct.
you might as well just stand on that stage instead of throwing out MAGA hats. Just throw out a pair of gold lame sneakers, because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And so if that's all you can bring to us, then stay your ass home.
Hello.
Amen. Amen, Michael Steele. Amen.
We don't need it.
Come on. He literally threw paper towels at Puerto Ricans. That was his pitch to Hispanics. And you have Latinos like Marco Rubio, who knows better, who used to be a commentator on Univision, who knows better, that says that's okay with him. He's now okay with them locking up people like him and putting them in camps. You can always find someone from the community who's willing to Clarence Thomas it out and turn against his own people. Clarence Thomas, who thinks Brown v. Board was apparently overly decided and went too far, that guy. And so you have a baby version of him in Byron Donalds.
That is crazy. Did y'all remember that from back in 2017 when he was throwing paper towels out to the audience, shortly after a hurricane? Did we forget about this? And you mean to tell me you still gonna have Latinos and Latinas supporting this guy? Can somebody tell me what was right about that situation, throwing towels out in the audience, paper towels? Can anybody tell me what was good about that? Because let there have been Obama or a Democratic president, y'all would have roasted this guy to high hell. Never let him forget about it. But apparently, only people who's been paying attention all this time, we know about that and know how ridiculous and immoral that was. Y'all remember that? at the time, I was like, that was terrible. It was terrible then, and it's terrible now.
So embarrassing. But I do want to talk about
real quick,
yeah.
Joy. How does Clarence Thomas think he gets an education? The Brown v. Board of Education is still in place.
Some goodly white person, a goodly white billionaire will help him. I mean, I think he really does believe in the largesse of a goodly white rich person, and that will always save him. So he thinks he's fine as long as there's a goodly white billionaire. He doesn't care about anyone else. I mean, I got to bring Michael Tomasky in here because you wrote a really good, there's a great series in the New Republic, which I hope you guys will all check it out. Because the other piece of this, Michael, is the media. The media has got to stand in the way of fascism here. I know they don't want to take a side, but here's a piece from your series. Your series, it was What American Fascism Would Look Like. Talk about the media's responsibility here, Michael, in terms of the way we talk about this stuff. In terms of the way we talk about things like, did he get a massive record crowd of Black and brown people in the Bronx?
Yeah, we're way past the time, Joy, when we can do this side and that side kind of journalism when it relates to Donald Trump, or the kind of journalism that says, well, this side says this and that side says that, and who knows, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. That's a traditional approach to objective journalism. We can't have that. Now, I'm not saying that the media should be shilling for Joe Biden or apologizing for Joe Biden or trying to see to it that Joe Biden wins the election. No. Absolutely not. However, the media does have to be standing for the values of democracy and the values of the republic that we live in and that we've been trying to perfect for 250 years, and against values that would attack that. Donald Trump very clearly is out to attack those values. He tells us that in one form or another every week. We were preparing that issue of the New Republic, and I was wondering if, maybe is this going a little far? But then he comes out with that Time Magazine interview. And I said, well, no, this Time Magazine interview he did a month ago validates every single word we're writing in this package of stories. And the media has to just be more blunt and say, look, this man says he is going to do this. He says he's going to try to deport and round up millions and millions of people. What would that look like? Yeah. We need long investigative series, Joy, on what that would look like, what that would do to families, as Jamel Bowie wrote in his excellent column today in the Times, families who are, tax-paying people. It's sad.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is crazy. So I'm gonna say this, man. If Black support for this guy goes up after this nonsense, all I'm gonna do is just continue to just shake my head and wonder exactly what the hell is going on. Because again, that's how they see us. It's just mind-boggling that some people actually look at that and conflate things and pretty much say that, okay, just because that's what we're seeing, we're gonna get on the Trump train. Not I. And quite frankly, neither should you. But I'm not going to be in the business of telling you who you should and shouldn't vote for. And by the way, sometime on my channel, I am going to talk extensively about the importance of voting, and I am going to do a series of that going into the election. I'm already trying to think about some ideas as to how I'm going to put that together, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. But this right here is pandering in a nutshell, and it's blatant. But you don't want to call them out when they do this mess. You only want to call it out when it comes to the Democrats. You want Democrat plantation and shilling and pandering and all this other stuff. It's an issue if you think that's coming from the Democrats, but apparently, it's free reign when it comes to the Republicans. Make it make sense, y'all. And like I said, look at who was on that stage. Y'all saw the pictures. I mean, it's crazy. That's how they see us. And then think back to Diamond and Silk, and I think one of them passed away like a year or so ago. Look at that. I mean, is that what we're talking about here? That's the best representation of the Black community that you can find. And even with that being said, you think that's going to get a lot of people to your side when at the end of the day, you do not sympathize with or support our plight. You never have and you never will, But I digress. So speaking of voting, now I was going to end the video right here, but as I was thinking about the video today and organizing my thoughts, I came to something else that I wanted to share Now, this goes back to a post from MSNBC. This was on June 21st, 2022, actually a few days before my birthday, mind you. But now this one, I just want y'all to listen to this and watch this. Some of you may have seen it before, some of you may have not seen it. Now, this is in regards to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, you know, the two elections workers in Georgia. Now, this post, I made sure to save it because I knew at a certain point I was going to refer to it again, and here we are. Now, I'm not going to pause this and offer my thoughts. I'll offer some thoughts at the end, but I just want y'all to see this one and listen to it. Give me a second while I get this back up here, y'all. All right, let's check
Shay
this
Moss
out.
had been a longtime election worker in Fulton County. For this election, Fulton County looked like it was going to be short-staffed because of COVID. So Ms. Moss recruited her mom to sign up as a temp worker for Election Day. That video that Trump and company got so fixated on, all that video showed was Shay Moss and her mom, these two election workers, literally just doing their jobs on election night, taking ballots out of the secure containers they were transported in like they were supposed to, and running them through the ballot counting machine like they were supposed to. But Trump and Giuliani and all the Trump folks and our friends at Fox News kept running this snippet of video over and over again, saying that it showed a crime, even though it actually showed just normal election workers doing normal stuff the normal way with no malfeasance whatsoever. But them fixating on this video, Trump not only showing the video, the conservative media showing the video, Giuliani showing the video, and Trump specifically naming the women in the video as the ones who stole the election from him, that had profound consequences. Shay Moss and her mom, even her teenage son, got inundated with vulgar and racist harassment and death threats. Shay Moss's mother called 911 multiple times because people were showing up at her house and banging on her door, making threats in person.
I've been having terroristic threats. I've been having harassing phone calls and emails, and they came out and made a police report yesterday. And last night, about 10 minutes after 9, somebody was banging on the door, and now somebody's banging on the door again. Oh, they screaming. He's still banging on the door.
Okay.
He's still banging on the door. Lord Jesus, where's the police?
They are on the way, ma'am.
Oh, God.
Lord Jesus, where's the police? This became their lives. Shay Moss and her mother, Ruby Freeman, in the midst of all those harrowing threats and intimidation, something else happened. That tape, that 911 tape, was from December 2020. The following month, in January 2021, actually 2 days before the January 6th attack, a woman showed up on Ruby Freeman's doorstep, said she had been sent by a high-profile individual, and she was there to help Ms. Freeman. Now, this woman told Ruby Freeman that she was in danger. She told her that people were coming to her house in 48 hours and she was going to be locked up. That woman who came to Ruby Freeman's house and made that apparent threat, it turned out in the end that she at least some point had been a publicist for the troubled Trump-supporting hip-hop artist Kanye West, which is the celebrity thing that got all the, well, this is weird kind of headlines about this incident. You might remember that. Where did the Kanye West publicist fit into all of this? The way that actually resolved, and what you should know ahead of Ms. Moss's testimony at tomorrow's hearing, is that we here on this show actually later determined that that woman who showed up on Ruby Freeman's doorstep had been dispatched there by a Trump campaign operative. When that woman came to Ruby Freeman's house, Ms. Freeman was so freaked out after a month of threats and harassment that while she said she was willing to talk with this person, she said she would only agree to do so at the local police station. That was the only place she felt safe meeting this random stranger. And so she went and met with her at the police station. And because it was at the police station, part of their meeting was caught on a police body cam, which Reuters obtained. We didn't want to frighten you, but we had to find you within this time frame. We've put in place a way to move you, to secure you from what may be authorized over the next 48 hours. I can't say specifically what will take place. I just know it will disrupt your freedom and the freedom of one or more members of your family. This January 4th, The woman then says she's going to put Ruby Freeman on the phone with somebody, quote, very high level with the authoritative powers to get you the protection that you need. Protection from what? Ruby Freeman told Reuters that once this other person, a man, got on the phone with her, he and this woman who had come to her house to try to get her, to try to talk to her about moving her, and because something terrible was going to happen to her within 48 hours, the man on the phone and that woman at the police station with her tried to get her to admit to committing election fraud. Ruby Freeman says the woman told her, quote, if you don't tell everything, you're going to jail. Now, what's important about this, other than the bizarreness of it, is that the, quote, very high-level guy who Ruby Freeman got put on the phone with, this person who could supposedly get Ruby Freeman protection from what was otherwise going to happen to her if she just confessed, and otherwise she and a family member or more than one family member were all going to go to jail. Turns out that guy worked for the Trump campaign. He had been the paid executive director of a Trump campaign group called Black Voices for Trump. He told us that he was the one who sent that woman to Ruby Freeman's house in January. He claimed he was acting as a private citizen when he did that. He said he was no longer on the Trump payroll. He also said that he personally never threatened Ms. Freeman. He told Reuters he received calls from people offering Ruby Freeman immunity if she confessed to election fraud, but he wouldn't say who those people were or on what authority they would have been able to offer her immunity. And immunity from what? What would she be prosecuted for? She did not actually commit election fraud. But again, this all happened on January 4th. And they keep giving her this deadline, right, by which she needs to act. She needs to confess or she's going to get taken away. And maybe they can move her. Maybe they can keep her safe. 48-hour deadline. Well, what was happening 48 hours from January 4th? Why was it so important that they get her to confess to election fraud within 48 hours of January 4th? Well, 48 hours later, of course, was January 6th, when Trump was planning to pressure Mike Pence into stopping the certification of Biden's election win. And it would have, of course, been really handy to have a forced confession, a forced false confession of election fraud to point to that day as a reason to throw out the Georgia results, or at least to delay certifying them because there was some great new controversy in Georgia. What exactly were they threatening Ruby Freeman with? Well, as far as there being some threat to Ruby Freeman that would materialize 48 hours from January 4th, well, it did actually materialize. According to a lawsuit Ms. Freeman filed against a right-wing website that promoted false stories about her, 48 hours after that visit from the Trump folks on January 6th, while pro-Trump rioters were storming the Capitol in Washington, a pro-Trump crowd also stormed her house, surrounded Ruby Freeman's house outside Atlanta, shouting at her through a bullhorn. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. She, by then, had already fled her home for her safety, following the FBI's advice to do so. And of course, Ruby Freeman, this 62-year-old election worker, grandmother from Atlanta, did not confess to some invented charge of election fraud, right? Despite this implied threat, this dangled promise from people connected to the Trump campaign that it would relieve the pressure on her, and only then could they keep her safe. The harassment and the threats turned Ruby Freeman's life upside down, turned her daughter Shay Moss's life upside down. It has been a total nightmare for them, and they did nothing wrong. But it is all also still coming full circle. Since then, the January 6th investigation has revealed not only that the claims about fraud in Fulton County were false, but that Trump was told in detail by the #2 official at the U.S. Justice Department that the whole attack on that mother and daughter in Atlanta, the whole suitcases full of ballots claim, all these supposed fraud claims about Fulton County, Georgia, were nonsense. And we know that because we have tape from Richard Donahue, the #2 official at the Justice Department after Bill Barr left. We have tape of his deposition to the January 6th investigation.
And I said something to the effect of, sir, we've done dozens of investigations, hundreds of interviews. The major allegations are not supported by the evidence developed. We've looked at Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada. We're doing our job. Much of the info you're getting is false. And I said, okay, well, with regard to Georgia, we looked at the tape, we interviewed the witnesses. There is no suitcase. The president kept fixating on this suitcase that supposedly had fraudulent ballots and that the suitcase was rolled out from under the table. And I said, no, sir, there is no suitcase. You can watch that video over and over. There is no suitcase. There is a wheeled bin where they carry the ballots. And that's just how they move ballots around that facility. There's nothing suspicious about that at all. I told them that there was no multiple scanning of the ballots. One part of that allegation was that they were taking one ballot and scanning it through 3 or 4 or 5 times to rack up votes, presumably for Vice President Biden. I told him that the video did not support that. I told him flat out that much of the information he's getting is false and or just not supported by the evidence. We look at the allegations, but they don't pan out.
The number 2 official at the Justice Department told President Trump personally and in detail this suitcase thing, this fantasy about some nefarious thing in Fulton County, Georgia, that you've ascribed to these women who you have named, who you have sicked your supporters on to the point where they've been driven into hiding at the advice of the FBI. This thing that you've been saying is not true. Nothing you're saying about that is true. Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss, did nothing wrong.
Y'all. So, man, that was crazy. And I think what happened months after the fact was that not only did they take Rudy Giuliani to court for that, you know, they did hit him with a lawsuit. And I think at the end of 2023, December to be exact, they did issue a junction or what they call it, a judgment against Rudy Giuliani on behalf of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss and the millions of dollars. I can't think of the amount off the top of my head, but that is what happened. To date, I'm not sure what's going on with that because Rudy Giuliani is in so much legal peril and trouble at this moment. You know, who knows if Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman are ever going to see a dime of that money? Who knows? But I mean, that video from Rachel Maddow said it all. So as I prepare to close this video, I just want to ask, okay, did anyone, specifically the Black conservatives, attempt to reach out to these 2 ladies, assuming they were able to take their hyper-conservative hats off for a few moments to do something noble? Probably not. Did anyone outside the Democrats condemn what happened to them and the toll that it took on their lives? Probably not. But then again, they more than likely believed the same nonsense and didn't give one single solitary damn about what these ladies went through. And in this case, it does matter that they were Black because let's be clear, 2 white election workers wouldn't have been treated this way. But when there's elections to be won, a chance to stick it to President Biden, a chance to own the libs, a chance to put a smile on Trump's face, et cetera, nothing else matters until it happens to them. Oh, and for all this work to attract Black voters, this is the same party who made no secret about restricting voting access around the country. And we all know who targets that the most, right? It makes no sense. And one more thing, like I said, this entire video basically puts on display. And I know that there's more videos out there, more articles, but these 2 videos that I showed, specifically the one with Joy Reid and the crew, that puts the pandering for the Black vote on blatant display. And people need to call that out instead of focusing so much on the Democrats. On one end, you say the Democrats not doing much, but then on another end, you'll say that there's a Democratic plantation and there's Democratic shields and Democratic pandering and all that. Which one do you want? Because then if the Democrats do nothing, then that's going to be a problem. What is it do you want? You know, and let me also say this. There's more to being a Black American and African American. There's more to our culture overall, even though it's having a lot of issues as we speak, and it's been having issues for years now. You know, there's more to what we do than just being a rapper, being a basketball player, being a football player, being a comedian, starring on reality TV. Yes. Is that what the masses see most of the time? Yes. But that doesn't make up the entire generation of what it means to be Black, what it means to be Black in America. It's way more to it than that. And if you think pandering to, you know, those sets of people, now don't get me wrong, I would know it's not anything wrong with being a rapper, even though the hip hop world is in disarray for a variety of reasons, but that's another subject. It's definitely nothing wrong with being in the NBA. It's nothing wrong with being in the NFL. It's nothing wrong with being able to tell jokes. Now, I have my issues with reality TV, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. There's no issues with any of that. But don't think just because you get people from these particular respective areas that all of a sudden that's going to jack up the black vote for you. It's not going to work like that. And if those two rappers facing murder charges, if that's the best that you can do with, congratulations, you played your damn selves. And again, I'm gonna say it one more again, old school. My old school people know what one more again means. I'm gonna say it one more again. If you, especially as a black person, or anybody else for that matter, if you're willing to fall on your sword for the likes of Donald damn Trump, especially when this guy would not do the same for you in return, I don't know what else to tell you. Other than, again, congratulations, you played yourselves. So with all that being said, y'all, if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and definitely drop some comments if you're feeling the content and let me know what you think. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember two things. Number one, the power of the mind is valuable. And number two, this is a situation where being woke, not the definition that the right wing will give you, but this is a time where being woke is essential and critical. Take care, y'all.